Hello everyone, my name is Shambhavi and today we are going to discuss about some topics and they are named as global and local variables, recursive versus iterative approach, lambda functions and fstrings. So basically we are going to see that what are all these and how do they work in Python programming. So firstly let's move towards the global and local variables. So quickly let me tell you about the things that global variables are the variables like global variables means any number of functions can use this variable inside the program. So what does this mean? This means that global variables means any number of functions can use this variable inside the program. Okay, let me tell you this thing in a very simple definition that global variables are always declared outside the function and local variables are always declared inside the function. So basically this is the you can say very easy definition for this global and local variables. Okay, let me go to OneNote and here let me open a new notebook. Okay, and just let me write the things here. Okay, and let me go a little down the side. Okay, fine. Now let's say here I have made a variable x and I have stored a value as 5 here. Okay. Other than that, I have made a function here, and let's say the name for my function is def fun. Okay, and in the bracket I pass some parameters like let's say n. Okay, and inside like a colon, and inside this also I use this variable x and I declare this value as 10 here. Okay. Now, my x is equal to 5 would be acting as a global variable, and my x is equal to 10 would be acting as a local variable. Okay, because x is equal to 5 would be acting as a global variable because global variables are the ones who are declared outside the function. So this global variable, this x is equal to 5 is declared outside my function. So this one is a global. And next, my x is equal to 10 would be treated as local variables because it is declared inside the function. Okay. So local variables are the ones who are declared inside the functions. Okay. So this is the main difference about the global and local variables. Now let me go to PyCharm and here we are. Okay, so here what I have done is that I have simply made a firstly I have made a simple function that is div function, and in bracket I have passed a parameter that is int. Okay, then other than that inside the function I have written L is equal to 5 and I have simply printed L. Okay, after that outside I have called this function and I have written this is me. Done. Now when I'm going to run this, I would simply get the output as 5. See, okay, because inside my function I have declared this L is equal to 5. Now inside my function when I have declared L is equal to 5, so this L is equal to 5 is acting as a local variable. So this L is equal to 5 is a local variable because this is basically just declared inside my function. So this is the thing how we say that okay, this is a local variable. Next, this I have done. Other than that, I have made a new variable m is equal to 8. Okay, and I have declared that m is equal to 8 also inside my function. Okay. Next, what I have done here is that I would simply print this L and M. Now, when I'm going to run this, I would get 5, 8. So, this is what I got. This is 5 and 8. So, this is simple. Okay. First, what I have done till now, I have simply made a function and its name was def function, and in bracket I passed a parameter that is n. Other than that, I have made one L is equal to 5 and m is equal to 8. Okay. So, my L is equal to 5 is my local variable. Other than that, I have printed that L. And after that I have print L and M together. So this was about my local function. Now let's see if I have declared one L is equal to 10 outside my function. I have written L and I have declared it a value as 10 outside my function. And now when I am going to run this, I am now also getting the output as 5, 8. 5 and 8. Why? Because here comes one more thing that we need to have a knowledge, that is the scope. Now what is this scope? So here it is something like whenever we are going to run our program. Okay, so first it sees our local scope and then the variable scope. Now let me tell you that what is this. So let's say inside my function I have declared a value that is L is equal to 5. Okay, so this one is my local variable and here it is my local scope. Okay, and I have printed like here. Outside my function also I have declared a value L is equal to 10. Now what it does is that it first goes and looks into my local scope. Okay, is any variable having value is any variable declared inside this function. So when I simply printed L comma N, so it simply goes inside my function and it checked that okay, is any L present here? So yeah, it found that L is equal to 5. So now it had it will not go outside my function. It will not go that side. What it will do, it will simply print me the value of L which I have written inside my function, because it first sees the local scope and then the variable scope. Clear? So this was about local and global scopes. Okay. Now, next thing, if I have simply written this global L, okay, and now just let me run. Now let me just comment these things. Okay, now let it be. I have written global L. Now what I have done here is that I was having a variable that is L, right? Here I have written it as global. Now what it will do, it will go and it will, wherever I have written global L, for this L, it will automatically go out of my function and search, okay, is there any L present? It will find that okay, one L is present and it is having a value of 10. It will take this 10 value and come inside my function. Here what it will see, it will say L is equal to L plus 50. So it will give L is equal to 10 plus 50 and it will give L is equal to 60, and I would be getting the output print statement as 60 comma 8 when I would now run it. So let me quickly run this. Okay, name L is okay, sorry, I just want to comment these things. Okay, done. Now quickly let me run this once more. Okay, so now just say that what output did I get? The output which I get is 60 and 8. Okay, so now let me quickly once more explain that what it is going on here. So simply when I have written this global L, so global variables are those variables which are declared outside my function. So it will even as I have written global here, and when I would run this, it would quickly go outside my function. It would see, okay, is there any L value present here? Now here it would find that L is equal to 10 is present. It will quickly take that 10 and here, now this L is equal to 10 plus 50. Now it will become L is equal to 60, and when I have written as print L comma M, it would simply print me the output as 60 comma 8. So this is how local and global variables work. Now quickly let me once more revise the definitions, that global variables are always declared outside the function, okay, and local variables are the ones which are declared inside the function. Next I was talking about the scope. So basically whenever we run the function, so basically it first says the local scope and then the variable scope. If it is seeing the local scope and if it getting the value, okay, in this function I have some local variable and it is having the value, so it will basically print me that value rather than going outside my function and checking out my variable scope. Okay, so it is always the local scope is checked always first. This was about local and global scope. Now let me comment all these things and let's go and see one more example for that. Okay, now here what I have done here is that I have made one function. Okay, the name for the function is def1. Okay, and I have written x is equal to 2. Other than that, what I have done, I have made one more function. So here what I am doing is that I am making nested function inside of functions. Done. Now, here what I am going to do is that I would simply make a function that is def1. Inside this function, I declared a value x is equal to 20. So this is my local value, local variable, and I have stored a value as 20 in my local variable x. Other than that, I have declared one more function that is def2. Done. Then I have written global x and I have written the value as x is equal to 88. After that, after coming out of my function, I simply print before calling 2. And I wrote the value for x. Okay, so now what I'm doing here is that I'm simply printing the value before calling my to function. Okay, after that I have simply called my to function and I am printing print after calling 2, and here what I am outside printing as 1. Let me comment this thing. Now let me run this once more, and now let me explain you one more thing here. Now what I got is the output is the unexpected one. I just got before calling 2 is the value 20 and after calling 2 the value for x is 20. Why? But here in my to function I simply mentioned the value for x is 88, and in my one function I mentioned the value of x is 20. But why am I getting this before calling 2 the value as 20 and after calling the two value as 20. Why am I getting? And okay, so if you have heard my the lecture from the starting, so you must have got the answer, because I have written this global x here. Now what it will do, it will simply and quickly go out of my function. As soon as I have written this global x here, it will go out of my function, and now it would search, okay, is there any x value mentioned here? But what it will do, it will not get any x value here because I haven't mentioned any value of x here. So now what it will do, it will not get any of the values, so it will simply print that before calling to and after calling to the value for x is 20. Now this thing is happening because I have written this global x, as I have told in the above example also, that as soon as I have written this global, it would quickly move out of my function and it would search that, okay, is any x value present here? It will not get any other value because I haven't declared any x function, any x variable outside my function, so it will not get any of the global value there. So it would simply print x is equal to 20, that is my local variables inside my functions, and it would simply print me the output. But one thing, now when I would print this x after calling my one function, when I would print this x, now here it would give me the output as 88. Okay, so so this was the thing about the global and local variables. How do we make these global and local variables? What is the basic concept behind global and local variables, and how do we write and initialize all these things? So this was all about global and local variables. Now let's move towards our second topic for today, that is recursion. And for the recursion, let me make a new Python file. So for making that, let me just go to practical and let me just make a new Python file. Let me name it as recursion. Recursion versus iteration, let me write it. Okay, done. Now here what I'm going to do is that I am taking an example for the factorial, finding factorial using recursive and iterative, both of the approaches. So fine. Now firstly let me tell you that what is this recursion. Recursion is declaring a function inside a function. This is the basic and the very easiest definition for recursion. Now this is basically it is the defining a function inside a function. Okay, so here what I am going to do is that firstly I am going to make a function, and firstly we will be seeing the iterative approach for finding the factorial. Okay, I would write def and I would write factorial, and underscore I would write iterative. Okay, in bracket I would pass a parameter that is n. Done. So here what I have done here is that firstly I am making a function here, def factorial iterative. And now next what I want to do is that I have simply made a variable as fac. And now here I have initialized the value as 1 into my variable that I have made as fac. Okay, now done. Next what I need to do is that I would simply apply the for I in range. I would apply a loop, for loop. Okay, for I in range, and I would, in bracket I would simply pass n. Now here my n would be my this number, which here I have written, okay, which I have passed as a parameter. So before writing all this, let me quickly tell you about the factorial, that what is basically the factorials. Okay, let me just pick up my pen. Okay, and where's that factorial one? Done. So basically this is how we find the factorial of any of the numbers. So now let me just write all the things here. Okay, so this is basically the denotation for n factorial, right? Now let's say I wanted to find the factorial for a number that is 5. Okay, so here what I would write 5 factorial. Now I would simply write my n, that is 5. I would put a multiplication sign. I would write n minus 1. So this is the formula for finding a factorial of any of the numbers. Okay, so let's say I have taken example for a 5. I would write 5 factorial. 5 into 5 minus 1, that is 4. Okay, then I would write 5 minus 2, that is 3. Then I would apply 5 minus 3, that is 2, and it will go. Okay, so it will go till 1. Okay, as soon as my value becomes 1, it would stop there. So this is the way how we find factorial. So basically factorial is found using n factorial. And okay, so this exclamation mark is the representation of a factorial sign. So wherever you find something like n factorial or this 5 exclamation mark, 6 exclamation mark, so basically this is how we denote the factorial sign, this exclamation mark. Okay, so here what I wrote is 5 factorial is equal to n. Now this one is the formula. N factorial is equal to n into n minus 1 into n minus 2 into n minus 3 up to something like, it will go up to the value till it becomes 1, right? Now, so this one was a long form and this is the short form, okay? So here n factorial is equal to n into n minus 1 factorial. So this one is a short form. If you want to remember any of the one, you can just take that away. So now just quickly let me write one more. So factorial for 5 is equal to 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, okay? And it's simply resulting me as the output as 120. When you are going to multiply all these things, it will simply result me the final output as 120. So basically the factorial the factorial for 5 is 120, okay? So this is the thing that how we find the factorial. Now let me go to this question which we were just solving about the iterative and factorial recursive approach. So simply what I do here is that I have written a for loop for I in range, and bracket I pass that parameter which I have just passed in my function. So I passed in. Now next what I need to do is that I need to write fact is equal to fact into, and in bracket I would simply write I plus 1, okay? This is the you can say mathematics, how do we solve for factorial, okay? And after that, after coming out of my function here, this I would simply return fact, okay? Now after going out of my function this side, I would declare another variable, that is number, and now I wanted to take the input from user only, right? So what I would write number, and I want the integer input, so I would write int. And so basically what I have done here is that I have typecasted this user input into integer format, okay? So int input, and I would write enter number, okay? And I would simply put this colons. Now what I would write is I would simply rewrite a print statement. I would write factorial using iterative, okay, APPROA approach, okay, and I would put a colon, and after coming out here, what I will do is that I would simply write, okay, I would simply write factorial iterative, and in bracket I would pass number. So basically number is the, you can say, variable which I have taken to store my user input. So this is about the factorial iterative using the iteration. So here what I have done the iteration using my for loop. So this was the iterative approach. Now let me run this, and okay, so now it's, let me just have a little bit. Okay, now it's asking me to enter a number. Let's say I entered 5, because just now I have calculated the factorial for 5, and that was 120. So as soon as I enter, so it is giving me factorial using iterative approach is 16. Okay, so here it's something like we have made any sign mistake. Okay, so I'm so sorry, here I should not put this plus sign, I should put this multiplication. Okay, now let's run this, and now it's again asking me to enter a number, and I would, let's say, enter 5. Now it is giving me that factorial using iterative approach is 120, okay? So here I got the correct output using my iterative approach to find the factorial, and let me just correct the spelling, it's ITE, okay? Now here what I have done, I have just done the factorial iterative approach, okay? Now I would do it using my recursion process. So here I would just make a new function, I would write def, and I would write factorial underscore, I would write recursive, okay? And in bracket I am doing the same things, I would as the same parameter inside this also, okay? Now I need to use my mathematic, whatever I use, so I would write if n is equal to 1, okay? Now here what I'm giving some conditions, okay? So here if I'm saying that if the value for my n is equal to 1, now return me 1 only, because the factorial for 1 can always be 1, right? Because if we have 1 factorial, so we cannot do n minus 1, because it will turn into 0. So the factorial for 1 is always 1. So I have written it if n is equal to 1. If the value for n is 1, so simply return me the output as 1. If not this condition, then else, and I would write else return n into, in multiplication here I would write factorial recursive, and in bracket I would use n minus 1. Now just have a look at what have I done here is that I have first made my function that is factorial recursive, and I have passed a parameter that is n. Now I have just put the condition that if n is equal to 1, then return me as 1. Otherwise, what I am saying that return me n into factorial recursive and in bracket n minus 1. So this was the thing which I was saying, that using of a function inside a function is called recursion. So here I have used this factorial recursive function inside my factorial recursive function. So here this is use of recursion, and I have simply wrote return n into n minus 1. Now what I would do, I would just go out of my functions, and here I would just write number, number is equal to int, and in bracket I would write int input, and here I would say enter a number, number. Okay. Now other than that, what I would do is simply print, and I would write just 1 second. Okay, I would write factorial using a recursive approach. Okay, is, and I would put this colon, and other than that I would put a comma, and I would just use my that factorial recursive, and in bracket I would pass number. It's number. Okay, so this is my whole program. I've completed my whole program, and now when I'm going to run this, so just firstly let me do one thing. Let me quickly comment the above one, because we have already seen the output for this. Okay, comment it. Now let me quickly run this. Okay. Okay, so it's asking me to enter a number. Let's say I would enter same number, that was 5. Done. So what I got, factorial using recursive approach is 120. So what I wanted to tell you is that I just wanted to tell you about the recursive approach. And this is how we do the recursion. This is function inside a function. Okay. So this is how we simply do the things. Right. And okay, so let's say I would pass 1 also one time. So when I wrote here as 1, because I have given a condition. So it said me that factorial using recursive approach is 1, because I have given one condition that if my value for n is equal to 1, so simply return me the final value as 1. Okay, so this was about using the iterative and recursive approach. Now let's move towards our third topic, that is lambda functions. So basically, what is lambda function? Lambda functions are also called as anonymous functions. Let me comment this thing. And okay, one more time. Done. Okay. See, now here I'm firstly going to tell you a little bit about the functions, and then we'll go and discuss about the lambda functions also. Okay, so here what I have done, I have simply made a function def add. So this is how we make a user defined function. Okay, so here I have defined, so this is def. Basically this def is used to define a function. Okay, so I have used def, and here I have used my new function, and I have made a user defined function that is add. In brackets I have passed two parameters, a comma b, and what have I done here is that I have simply returned a plus b. Okay, so this is the thing which I have done, and just let me once check the things. Okay, just hold on. Okay, done. No issues with that. This is all. So this is how we basically make a function and user defined functions. And now let's say I want to make a function, user defined function for printing for this minus. For that, what I will do, I would simply write a user defined function. I would write def. Okay, then I would use minus. I have made a user defined function. You can just take any one of your choice. Other than that, I will pass two parameters inside my function, that is x comma y. Whatever you wish, a comma b, c comma d, whatever you can say. But here what I have done, I have simply passed x comma y, and then after that I have returned x minus y. Then after coming out of my function, what I have done here is that I have simply printed my minus. So what I am doing here is that I have written print, and in here I have used my function that is minus, and inside my minus I have passed two values that are 9 comma 4. Now what's happening is that this my 9 comma 4, 9 is automatically going to x, 4 is automatically going to y. So it has now both the values 9 comma 4. Now when this function would run, it would simply go to return, and it would return 9 minus 4, and the output would be 5. Let me run this. Okay, so here what I am getting is the 5. That I have told you that this is the way how we just make a user defined function, and we do that things. Now if I want to make the things using lambda function, so for that what I would do, It's very easy, that I would simply write minus is equal to, I would use this lambda. So this lambda is used for making the lambda function. So this is the keyword which we use for making any of the lambda function. So I simply wrote minus is equal to lambda and I wrote x comma y. So here what I have done, I have passed two values that are x and y, right? Now I wrote lambda x comma y and I simply put a colon. After that colon, I simply wrote x minus y. Done. Other than that, after coming into my print statement, I simply wrote print. Then inside this, I simply wrote minus. Minus is my variable in which I have stored my lambda function, which I have just made here. So I have simply written print. I have used that minus variable here. Inside that, I have passed just two values that are 9, 4. And now when I am going to run this, I would simply get the output as 5. So this lambda function is another way you can say for writing this user defined function. So here what I was doing, I was just defining a function and I was returning the values and all that things. But in a lambda function, what I need to do is that I simply need to make a variable. I simply wrote lambda x comma y and I need not to return also. I simply put a colon, write x comma y, x minus y. And here I simply printed the values. So this is how this lambda function works. Okay, so this is the way for using the lambda functions. Now just let me comment it and let me comment this one also. Let's go and see some more examples for lambda functions. Okay, okay, done. Sorry. Okay, so here what I am doing is that, okay, let me just uncomment the things and let me explain you all the things. Okay, so this one is a user defined function. After that I will tell you how to write this function in lambda also, right? So here what I have done is that I have simply taken a function. I want to make a user defined function, so I have taken the keyword that is there for making a function. Then I here named the user defined function a underscore first. Okay, and in bracket I passed a parameter that is a. I returned a and in brackets I returned 1. I will let you know what is this. Okay. Here after coming out of my function, I simply made a variable that is a and I wrote a is equal to, I made a list inside a list, a nested list. Okay, so this is a list inside a list. I pass some values in this list that are 1, 41, 9, 6 and 8, 23. Okay. Now I want to sort these values. Okay. So what I wrote, a dot sort key is equal to a underscore first and I simply print a. Now just let me quickly run this. Okay. Now just see what happened here. My second values are sorted. Okay. So now just check out here for these. I have written a is equal to 1, 41, 9, 6 and 8, 23. So the values which are sorted here are 41, 6 and 23. Now just see in the output which I am getting are 6, 23 and 41. Why is this so? Why my first values are not sorted? Because in the return function where I have used this return, I have given the value as 1. If I have changed this value to 0, then my 9, 8 and 1, these would have come in the sorted value, means these have come in the ascending order. Let me just show you. I have written return a and a 0. Now here my first values that are 1, 8 and 9, they are sorted. So this is the way how we if you want to sort any list inside a list inside this. So this is the way we make a user defined function and we just use this sort function. Now if I want to do all these things using my lambda function, so what I would do, I would simply declare a variable. And let's say here I have declared a variable that is a. Okay, and I have passed to return the same list which I was using above. Now I need not to make any function. I need not to use anything. Simply what I need to do is that I need to use my sort function. I would write a dot sort and here I would use key is equal to. Earlier what I was doing is that I was using key is equal to a underscore first. Now a underscore first was my function name. Just check check here. It's a underscore first is my function name, right? Now what I am doing, I am simply using this lambda function. Key is equal to lambda x. Now colon x0. Now 0 means my first values of my list. So it is 1, 5 and 8. So they are automatically sorted. Let me write a different values and let me write something like 9 here. Okay. And now simply what I am doing is I am printing a. Now quickly let me run this once and okay. So now just have a look that all my first values are sorted here. See, 1, 8 and 9. So basically all my values are sorted here, right? So this is the way how we do the things. Okay, now in this lambda function, what it is doing, it is automatically sorting my all these things also. So here in the 8 comma 23 is come the sign and got the size. So this is the way how we sort these lambda functions. So I hope now you got the point about the lambda function, that how do we use these lambda functions and basically why do we use this lambda function. So basically they make our work easier. Okay, now here I have told you about lambda functions. Now if you are just watching my videos for the data analysis, which I'm just presently doing on Google Play Store dataset, which I basically upload on Thursdays. So in that, if you are just watching it, in there you will get a lot of use of these lambda functions. So basically there I have not used my user defined functions. I have just made that lambda functions and I have used all the things here. Okay, so this is the thing. So next we have the topic is if strings. Now what are these if strings? So basically if string is something, let's say uh, you have taken any variable, okay, and like let's say you have a variable that is my, okay, and you have stored some string in that variable, and in the output you want to print that string. So basically if strings are used there. Now let me quickly tell you that how do we do this. And okay, where is if? Okay, done. So basically, firstly, let's see this. Okay, I have used a variable that is my. Okay, in this variable, I have stored a string and that the string is Shambhavi. Okay, other than that, I have made one more variable and I have used my name is, and here what I have used %s. So, right, and outside my functions I have used my percent my. So basically this percent is that, okay, one string has to come here, and outside my function what I have used is percent my. So percent my, what it will do, it will simply print Shambhavi here. And when I am gonna print all these things, and just let me comment this thing, and okay, when I am going to print this, I would get that my name is Shambhavi. Okay, downside something is uncommented, so just leave that. Just see the highlighted part which I am telling that my name is Shambhavi. Okay, so this is the thing which I was saying. But here I haven't used my F string. Now, my use of my F strings is this side where I would tell you. Okay, this is the same example which I have told you. Just one more thing here. Okay, let me go upside and okay, let me go like sorry and uncomment this. Okay, this one is the thing. Okay, done. Now see what I have done here is that I had made a new that same variable that is my, and I have stored a string that is Shambhavi in this. Okay, then other than that I have used a variable that is s, and I have stored as a value of 10 this side. Other than that I have made one more variable s1. Now here what I'm doing is, right, I'm writing my name is and I just put these blank brackets. Okay, after that s2 is equal to s1 dot format my comma s and in print s2. Okay, just let me run this. Now for printing this my and s values, what I need to do is that I simply need to write s2 is equal to s1 dot format my comma s. For printing this my and s value, I need to write both of these things here. Now, if I want to use this f string, so for using this f string, what we simply do is that we simply write, let me comment this thing. Okay. Now for using my f strings, what I need to do is that, let's say I import this math, these are the other things. Here I made a variable that is my. I stored that Shambhavi s is equal to 10. Now here what I did, I made a variable s1. I simply outside declared f. Now this f is what I was telling you about the f strings. This is how we write this f strings, right? So here I would write f. I would put semicolons. I would write my name is. I would put this curly braces. Okay, I would put this curly braces, and now inside this curly braces I would put that variable name whatever I want to print. Let's say I want to print my name is, in the brackets curly braces I put my. So here this my refers to Shambhavi. Okay, now this Shambhavi would come here. Other than this, I was having a value of s. This s was come here as 10 value, and like this is a simple example that you can even use any of the, you can say, libraries also. Like I would just say I just imported a module, let's say that is library, that is math, and here I just use math.call60. This is a way for showing you that okay, you can use these things also, none other than that. Okay, after that I just printed this s1. Now when I'm going to run this thing, just see the output which I got here is that my name is, so this my name is I have printed. Other than that, with the help of my f string, I was able to print this my inside this curly braces. So the variable my was having a value, I was having a string as Shambhavi stored. Okay, so here I have stored that thing. So here it simply printed me Shambhavi. Next, I was having another curly bracket. Inside that curly bracket, I was having s variable. Inside that s variable, the value 10 was stored. So it simply printed me 10. Other than that, I was using the math.call60, so it just printed me 60. So this was like value for 60. This was a way for telling you that okay, you can use these things also. But let me just erase these things, and now let me quickly run this one. Okay. Now here I would be simply waiting that my name is Shambhavi, and then this line is the else that I have here. Basically what I told is that this f string is basically used when you want to print some variables, like you have stored some variable, sorry, you have stored some string or you have stored some value inside a variable and you want to print it, print that thing in some of the statement. So basically there you use this f string. Okay, so like in the above example what I told, that this was also a way for doing this, but this was a very long way. So for that, this f string is used. Simply you will write f, here you will use semi-quotes, my name is, in the brackets you will use that variable's name which you want to print, and then you will simply print that s1. So this was about f strings. So now let me quickly have a recap of all the things which we have discussed today. So first we have discussed about the global and local variables. Okay, so here we have seen the example that the global variables are the ones which are declared outside the function and the local are the ones which are declared inside the function. Then here what I have done, I had simply made a function and there I have made some local variables. Now when I had just made this L as global, so this whenever as soon as I will write global and I would make any variable, it would simply go out of my function and search for that variable outside my function. Okay, so this was the thing which happened this side. Then we discussed about the scope also, that whenever we run the function, it first says the local scope and then the variable scope. Okay, so whenever we run the function, so it will firstly see our local scope and then it will go and see out for the variable scope. Other than that, we have just discussed one more example where I have simply made a function inside a function. I have written def1, def2 and then I have assigned some x values and then we have simply printed the values. Next, we have simply moved towards a recursive approach and iterative approach for finding a factorial. So these were the two ways where I told about the recursion, that it is like, okay, let me just have a quick definition for recursive approach, and it is something like it is use of function inside a function. Okay, which I told that it is the use of function inside a function. So here in this recursive one, I have simply used my factorial recursive function inside my this function. So basically this is the use of function inside a function. So here we have seen about the factorial, we learned about factorial and we have seen that how to find a factorial using iteration and using recursion. Then moving towards the third, we were dealing about the lambda function, which were also called as anonymous function. I told that what are these lambda functions and basically how we use and why you will use this. Okay, because this is a shortcut form for using this user defined function. So this is how we use this lambda functions. At the last, I just told you about the f strings, that basically what are these f strings and why we use this in programming. So let's say you have a variable and you want that variable's value or string to be printed in your output. So you will simply write f. Now, don't forget to write this f. If you are not going to write this f, then these values will not be printed. Okay. So if you simply write this f, then you will put semicolons and you will write whatever the thing you want to write, and here you would in the curly braces inside this semicolons only you will write that variable names or whatever variable value you want to be printed. Let's say I wanted to print the like whatever the string is stored in my, so I simply wrote my here. Okay, and I wanted the value which is to be stored which is stored in s, I wanted to print that here. So simply I wrote s. So I hope I made all the things clear to you. So today we discussed about f strings, lambda functions, recursion versus iteration, and global and local variables. I hope I made all the things clear to you. If you have any doubts, you can rewatch the video and you can even ask the questions with me in the comment box. So this is all for this video. Till then, thank you and bye-bye.